The magic of March can be awfully cruel, especially in the life of a mid-major program. How's everybody doing? I'm Jay Elsen, and this is Coyote Corner. Heading into the Summit League tournament, everything was working for the South Dakota women. The Coyotes closed the regular season with 14 straight wins, clinching their second consecutive regular season championship and the tournament's top seed in the process. But there was one more thing on their checklist, and that was a return to the NCAA tournament. Now, USD's road to the big dance would start in the Summit League quarters against 8th-seeded Denver, and right away it looked like business as usual for the Yote. Straight from the opening tip, Nicole Seekamp steps up, knocks down the baseline jumper. Then Kelly Stewart follows suit with an 18-footer of her own. The Pioneers, though, would come out firing as well. Here's Paige Bradley from downtown, one of 4 triples on the day for the Denver senior. Bradley and company would lead 13-10 after one, but Stewart would almost single-handedly reverse that scoreline in the second. The senior would score 10 in the first half to help USD take a 27-21 lead into halftime, an advantage they would only increase after the break. Seekamp here finds a wide-open Abigail Fogg inside, and then it's Ty Heemiller with 3 of her 13 points in the afternoon. The Coyotes would outscore the Pioneers 26-10 in the third and go on to take a 73-54 victory. USD out-rebounded the Pioneers 47-24 with 20 of those boards coming on the offensive end and leading to 21 second-chance points. Seekamp would pace the Yotes with 17, joining Heemiller, Stewart, and Fogg in double figures. After a day off, the Coyotes would meet up in the semifinals with the 4-seed Oral Roberts on Monday afternoon. Now, the Golden Eagles, the only team to beat USD in the Summit League's regular season, but the Yotes would quickly erase any chance of a repeat of that January 6th defeat. Margaret McLeod gets USD going early, scores on back-to-back possessions to open the game for 4 of her game-high 12 first-half points. The early Coyote blitz wouldn't stop there. The emphasis inside opened up space in the perimeter for Caitlin Duffy and company, as USD would go 6 for 10 from 3, 18 of 29 from the field in the opening 20 minutes to help build a commanding 42-23 halftime advantage. But it was really USD's defense that carried the day. Kelly Stewart here with the block on Faith Iham, up to Nicole Seekamp, who simply blows by Kaylin Mayberry for the basket. Then later, more Stewart, another block on the Summit's 6th Woman of the Year, and then she turns defense into offense. Seekamp finds her senior classmate for the long triple. This one was never close as USD moves on to their 4th straight Summit League tournament title game in style, 78-61. The advantage on the glass, massive again for USD, who out-rebounded the Golden Eagles by 21 in the victory. McLeod and Seekamp would lead all scorers with 14 points apiece, while Stewart would finish with 12 points, 5 boards, 3 blocks, and 3 assists. That set up another title game showdown with South Dakota State, the 3rd in the last 4 years. Stewart looked ready. The senior dialed in early on, gets the 3 there. Later, knocks down the turnaround 2. South Dakota up 20-17. Stewart still not done. Got it for 3 again. She scored 10 first-half points on 4 of 6 shooting. The Coyotes led by as many as 6, but the Jacks cut into that deficit before the half. Macy Miller with a tough finish just before the horn. She had 12 at that point, but South Dakota still led 27-26. Things stayed tight into the third. Seekamp connects off the inbound. That ties the game at 36. Moments later, Seekamp swipes it away from Clarissa Ober, and how about this pass? Right on the money to Margaret McLeod, one of 3 assists for Seekamp. Coyotes, though, down 2 entering the 4th quarter. And the Jacks took over from there. SDSU started that final frame by hitting 3 of its first 4 shots, including a pair of clutch threes from Madison Giebert. That helped them stretch the lead to 6, and it proved to be more than enough. Seekamp and company unable to get closer than 3 the rest of the way, and the Coyotes end up falling 61-55. Just the 3rd Summit League tournament loss for South Dakota, all of which have come to SDSU in the championship game. Certainly a disappointing end to what was a pretty amazing run through the Summit League. The good news is the season isn't over.
We put a whole season together and we played well in the Summit League Conference the whole time. We were 15-1, and just because we lost now doesn't mean that all that hard work's gone for nothing. We're just going to have a few days off and just kind of refocus, and we're a great team. We stick together, and that's exactly what we're going to do after this. We're going to stick together and focus on the next one.
We're just thankful that we get another opportunity to play with our team, play with these coaches, and be together for some more games. And we're going to give it all our all. We're going to refocus. We're going to come to practice looking to get better like we have all season.
Now, one more chance to coach this team is not something Amy Williams is taking lightly. We'll find out exactly what that opportunity means to her next.
Coyote Corner on Midco Sports Network is presented by Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back to Coyote Corner. Jay Elsen, joined by the two-time Summit League Coach of the Year, Amy Williams. And Amy, you're on quite a roll heading into the Summit League tournament, 14 straight wins, and you get 2 more over Denver and Oral Roberts, find your way back into the title game for the 4th straight year. And before we get into the particulars on that game, how'd you feel about the road you took to get there?
Yeah, I mean, we're really excited. It was just a great, tremendous regular season for our team. I mean, I think after that loss at Oral Roberts, we were able to kind of really bounce back and talk about some things that were going to be important for us to continue to improve as a team. Our kids really bought into that, and anytime you can finish in this conference with just 1 regular season loss, that's a pretty special season.
In those first 2 games in the tournament, did you feel good about what you'd put out there to get back to the championship?
Yeah, I mean, there were some struggles. We felt like in the first couple of games that we had 1 good half that was enough to kind of get us back to the championship game in each one of those games. But, that time of year, it's just, it's kind of a grind, and everybody is fighting and scratching and clawing and kind of on a level playing field. So you have to do whatever it takes to be able to survive and advance.
Well, and you did that, and in the end, I think the matchup that most expected, probably most wanted to see, came to fruition. South Dakota State for a 3rd time this season. What did you feel like was going to be your key to success in that matchup against the Jackrabbits?
Well, I mean, we knew that a big, huge key is always the rebounding battle when we play that particular game. In the last few years, SDSU and USD have been 2 of the top rebounding teams in the conference, and so it's always a big battle, and so that was going to be a key. We also felt like, we needed to make some baskets and make shots, and they're a very good defensive team, and they find ways when you know so much about an opponent, it becomes very difficult, and both teams are taking away primary looks from each other, and so we knew we were going to have to make some plays and make some shots, and we just they made 1 or 2 more than we did.
It felt a lot like this one played out like the one you played in Brookings, kind of a real grinder, just a real struggle for either side to sustain any kind of momentum for any length of time. Is that what you were expecting the 3rd time around?
Yeah, I mean, of course, we felt like it was going to be a battle, and no question about it that both teams are going to, know how to make things difficult for the other team, and that's kind of what happened, and I think when you looked statistically at the end of that game, it was a very evenly matched game with field goal percentage, and neither team was as sharp as we probably could be, but boiled down to they made a couple plays down the stretch, and we couldn't.
It was, so through 3 quarters, it was dead even. I mean, it felt like it could go either way. And then at the start of the 4th quarter, they hit some shots and got off to a pretty strong start. Ultimately, that proved to be enough for them. What was the biggest difference? Was it as simple as just a couple more buckets, or was there more to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just a few things that kind of happened in that 4th quarter, but certainly, we thought that a couple of those plays in transition where they got loose and made baskets and we couldn't answer were probably the difference in the end.
Now, such a special season, and while it does come up just a little bit short of the ultimate goal, I mean, there is a silver lining here, and that is it's not over. Your team, which includes an awfully special group of seniors, has earned the right to play again, and you've earned the right to coach them again. So what's all that mean to you?
Well, I mean, that's just that's the best news about the whole situation. And we had an ultimate goal to be playing in the NCAA tournament, and it's a very difficult thing. We talk all the time about how athletics teaches life lessons, and this is one of those life lessons where sometimes your goals have to shift, and you have to be willing and ready to be able to shelf that ultimate goal when you come up short, and then find a way to refocus towards something different. And right now, our team just feels extremely fortunate and excited that we get the opportunity to lace them up again together. And we are not we're not kind of unaware that this is a special group. This is a fun team to be a part of, and we're very fortunate to have the opportunity to play together again.
Now, I know you're not one that likes to look too far into the future, especially when there's a game on the schedule, but being that this is the last show of the season, I'm going to ask you to do it anyway. Things are going to have a different feel next year. New roster, new building, kind of a new era for women's basketball here at the University of South Dakota. So how do you feel about where things are at right now and going into the future?
Well, I mean, we're excited about the future of our program, and that's a huge credit to 5 seniors that are going to be leaving it. And they've certainly left their legacy on this program. They have taught all the current returning players that will be returning to our team the right way to do things, and it's going to help immensely as we move forward with our program.
Well, Amy, congrats on a great year that's continuing at this point, and certainly appreciate all your time once again this season.
Thanks so much, Jay.
All right, thanks, Amy. Well, Coach Williams and the Coyotes found out who and where they're going to play in their WNIT opener on Monday night. We'll preview that first-round matchup when we come back.
Coyote Corner on Midco Sports Network is presented by Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back. Well, it may not have been the announcement they had initially been hoping for, but as we just heard from Coach Williams, the Coyote women are excited about their opportunity to compete in the WNIT. South Dakota received one of the 32 automatic bids for this year's event by way of their Summit League regular season championship. The rest of the 64-team field, which was announced late Monday, is made up of at-large teams, which the WNIT selection committee deemed to be the best available. The only prerequisite for those teams is that they have an overall record of 500 or better, including conference tournament games. Now, first-round games begin Wednesday, and for the second straight year, South Dakota will open at the Dakota Dome against Creighton. Coyotes won last year's matchup 68-58 behind 21 points from Nicole Seekamp. They also got 10 from Kelly Stewart and 8 from Margaret McLeod. With that win, South Dakota improved to 6-3 all-time against Creighton in Vermilion and 9-12 overall. As for this year's Blue Jays, they're making their 9th consecutive postseason appearance after going 17-17 overall and 8-10 in the Big East. They were the number 7 seed for this year's Big East tournament and advanced all the way to the final before falling to St. John's. Creighton is led by freshman forward Audrey Faber and junior guard MC McGrory, who averaged a combined 25.4 points per game. The Blue Jays and Coyotes did have 6 common opponents this season, those being Drake, Utah, South Dakota State, Omaha, Northern Iowa, and Marquette. South Dakota went a combined 6-3 against those teams, while Creighton was 3-4. Once again, it's Creighton and South Dakota Wednesday night in round 1 of the 2016 WNIT. Tip-off is scheduled for 7 p.m. at the Dakota Dome. The winner will advance to face either Minnesota or Milwaukee. All right, well, with their season concluded, Craig Smith and the South Dakota men are already looking toward the future. We'll talk more about that with the Coyotes head coach when we come back.
Coyote Corner on Midco Sports Network is presented by Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back. Well, coaches don't waste a lot of time looking in the rearview mirror. They keep their eyes set on the future, and that's exactly what Craig Smith is doing this week. He's on the recruiting trail, so he joins us for the final time this season on the phone. Craig, let's start with your Summit League tournament experience, which started and ended with Fort Wayne. What are your thoughts on the way that game played out?
You know, Fort Wayne's very, very good. We knew when we lost at Western Illinois what our matchup was going to be, and quite frankly, we thought it was the toughest matchup for us, just the way they play it. Their strengths and our biggest weaknesses were kind of the same, which is not a good formula. So, I thought we played fairly well in the first half, but we were down 10 or 12, and we were able to cut it to 6 and have the ball in the last possession and miss an opportunity to cut it to 4. And, one of the biggest things we talked about at halftime is the first 5 minutes were going to be huge. And Joe Reed knocked down a couple of huge threes, and they came out punching, and we just didn't have an answer. We chipped away a couple times, but it just wasn't enough, and they're a heck of a team. And unfortunately, we came out on the short end of the stick.
Now, with that, you finished with a record of 14-18. Looking back, Craig, how would you characterize this season?
There were some great highlights, winning at Minnesota, stopping the longest non-conference winning streak in the country was certainly a highlight, and beating a good Milwaukee team and beating a good Florida Gulf Coast team. And then we knew this year could have some ups and downs. It was a little bit of a transitional year in a lot of ways going into it, and it just so happened to be the timing of it wasn't great in terms of, our league was the best it's ever been. And when we hit conference play, we ran into some really, really good teams.
Now, you do lose 5 seniors. These are guys that accounted for more than 50% of your offense, 40% of your rebounding. But numbers aside, how much did this group mean to your program?
These seniors that we had this year, and Casey Castropower, Trey Norris, and Dual Mayotte, Trey Burnett, and Eric Robertson, I think really helped us lay the foundation of what we want to do and where we want to go, and helped our younger guys understand our expectations, what we want to do that way. And so it's always disappointing, certainly, being under 500, but I thought those guys really helped us and get things rolling for next year and in the future. And that's something that they can be proud of.
Now, you said it at some point this season. This year's team had a very different look than last year's. The same is going to be true next year. And with all that in mind, how much do you anticipate changing in terms of your style of play?
Well, we'll be totally different. I mean, last year we had one team in our first year, and this year was completely different than last year's team. And next year's team is going to be completely different than this year's team. And, when you count the 3 Division I transfers sitting out, plus Tyler Borchers, and we signed 3 guys early. We just got another verbal commitment, and we're probably still going to add at least 1 more. We have 2 scholarships available. So when you look at the big picture, we're going to have, at a minimum, 9 new players in our program. There'll definitely be some things different. We'll finally have, I guess you could say, like a full complement roster. And it's going to allow us to have a lot more depth, I think a lot more competition, and the ability to do different things throughout the game. And then we just got to find out who the players are, who's going to bring what to the table, because it's going to be new for everybody.
Finally, Craig, what excites you most about the future?
There's so many things, Jay. It's really going to be kind of a whole new deal. It'll be the first time in 3 years, like starting next year and moving on, it feels like there will be a lot more stability in our program. And transition is difficult. Transition takes time. And so now, starting next year and moving forward, I feel like there'll be way more continuity in the program. So much more. Everybody's on the same page. And really building our culture in a major way moving forward. Certainly, the new arena is going to be huge for us. New practice facility, new locker rooms, new weight room. And I think that signifies a lot of things. It's very, very exciting, but I think just the continuity of finally having somewhat of a stable roster in play and the familiarity with all the coaches and coaching staffs is a huge, huge deal.
All right, thank you. That again, Craig Smith, head coach of the Coyotes. Well, season 4 of Coyote Corner has been filled with memorable moments, and we're going to relive some of the best after this.
Coyote Corner on Midco Sports Network is presented by Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back. Well, before we close the book on another season of Coyote Corner, here's a look at some of the big events coming up over the next couple of months for South Dakota athletics. This week's WNIT opener is, of course, right at the top of that list. Spring football practice gets underway on Tuesday, March 29th, and will conclude with the annual spring game on Saturday, April 23rd. And finally, The University of South Dakota will host its first ever event at one of its new state-of-the-art facilities. Summit League Outdoor Track and Field Championships are coming up May 12th through the 14th. All right, that is going to do it for us. On behalf of Alex Heinert and myself, a very sincere thank you to all of the administration, coaches, student athletes, and of course fans there at the University of South Dakota for making our job so enjoyable. We leave you tonight with a look back at some of our favorite sights and sounds from Season 4 of Coyote Corner.
The snap, the kick on the way, it's on the way, and it is yes! Coyotes win! Coyotes win!
Turnover. Seacamp to steal. Oh my, what a finish! Oh, this crowd on their feet. Alley-oop from Norris to Tyler Flack to start the second half, and that energizes the crowd. 2nd and 10. The 13, here's Frederick, up the middle, 5, touchdown Coyotes!
I believe Seacamp's going to take the shot here. Shot clock to 5, a 3 for Seacamp is good! 21 for Seacamp.
Milan down under Seacamp.
Another steal, and that should do it! Davis! The exclamation point with 1.8 seconds remaining!
DJ Davis, huge plays.
Bama into the end zone, touchdown. Stewart decides to take the shot, she hits it. Coyotes do get it down the floor this time, and Eric Robertson throws it down.